This is Coffee with God, and I am Father Jose. Let us begin this day with the Word of God and a short reflection.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew chapter 13, verses 24 to 30. The passage is taken from the Message version of the Bible. He told another story. God's kingdom is like a farmer who planted good seed in his field. That night, while his hired men were asleep, his enemies sowed thistles all through the wheat and slipped away before dawn. When the first green shoots appeared and the grain began to form, the thistles showed up too. The farmhands came to the farmer and said, "Master, that was clean seed you planted, wasn't it?" "Where did these thistles come from?" he answered. "Some enemy did this." The farmhands asked, "Should we weed out the thistles?" He said, "No. If you weed the thistles, you'll pull up the weeds too. Let them grow together until harvest time. Then I'll instruct the harvesters to pull up the thistles and tie them in bundles for the fire. Then gather the wheat and put it in the barn."
Reflections on the Gospel according to St. Matthew chapter 13, verses 24 to 30. Today the Gospel speaks of two contrasting attitudes, annoyance and irritation of man and the patience of God. In the parable of the weeds and wheat, the servants of the landowner want to act in a haste and are impatient while the landowner is willing to wait patiently. Indeed, through the face of the patient landowner, Jesus reveals the image of God, who waits patiently. We often act in great hurry to judge, to categorize, to segregate the good here and the bad there. Remember the prayer of that self-righteous Pharisee. "God, I thank you that I am good, that I am not like the other men, malicious." Pope Francis explains the parable and says, God knows how to wait. With patience and mercy, He gazes into the field of life of every person. He sees much better than we do the filth and the evil, but He also sees the seeds of good and waits with trust for them to grow. God is patient. He knows how to wait. This is so beautiful. Our God is a patient Father who always waits for us and waits with His merciful heart to welcome us, to forgive us. He always forgives us when we go to Him. The field owner's attitude is that of hope, grounded in the certainty that evil has neither the first nor the last word. And it is thanks to this patient hope of God that helps us to grow up. Although with malicious heart with so many sins, in the end can become good grain. But be careful. Evangelical patience is not indifference to evil. One must not confuse good and evil. While facing the evils in the world, we are called to imitate the patience of God and to trust in the final victory of good, that is of God. There is no one who is totally evil and totally bad. In spite of all the evil behaviors, there is something good in all of us. The bad behaviors in us are the weeds tricked by the evil in our lives. But the patient and loving God would allow us to grow with the hope of nurturing and bringing into maturity those good seeds in each of us. The weeds of all the wrong attitudes and behaviors will be burned in the fire of God's love and forgiveness. The good will overcome the evil, and in God's mercy, our purified self will reach Him. Let us ask Our Lady, our Mother, to help us to grow in patience, in hope, and in mercy with all brothers and sisters.